Welcome to the meeting for September 5th, 6:30 p.m. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all for coming. I call to order the Liquor Control Commission meeting for September 5th. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Papantos. Present. Commissioner Vogel.
Here.
Commissioner Brady.
Here.
Commissioner Vito.
Here.
Commissioner Lang.
Here.
Commissioner Kruger.
Present.
Chairperson Horker.
Here. Like a motion to approve the minutes for the meeting of August 7th.
So moved.
Second.
Motion was that Trustee Commissioner Lang?
Brady.
Brady.
Brady and then
Second,
Papantos.
Papantos. Roll call.
Commissioner Papantos. Yes. Commissioner Vogel.
Yes.
Commissioner Brady.
Yes.
Commissioner Vito.
Yes.
Commissioner Lang.
Yes.
Commissioner Kruger.
Yes.
Commissioner Chairperson Horker.
Either way, yes. Any citizens' concerns or comments?
Nothing
For the
this
liquor?
evening.
Thank you, Ms. Clerk. New business. Mr. Spondilis.
If the clerk could read the consideration.
Okay, 6A, consideration of a request for a Class I liquor license from the Indian Trails Public Library District for an event to be held on October 16, 2017.
Thank you. As the title indicates, there is a request this evening from Indian Trails Public Library. They will be doing an event partnering with Linford Winery on October 16th. Director Brian Shepard is here. If you have any questions or if you have any for me, I'd be happy to answer them.
Questions from the board?
Make a motion we approve.
Second.
Motion, Trustee Vogel. Second, Commissioner Kruger. Roll call.
Commissioner Papantos.
Yes.
Commissioner Vogel.
Yes.
Commissioner Brady.
Yes.
Commissioner Vito.
Yes.
Commissioner Lang.
Yes.
Commissioner Kruger.
Yes.
Chairperson Horker.
Yes. Congratulations. Item B, Atlantic Aviation. Clerk Simpson.
Consideration of a request for a Class L liquor license from Atlantic Aviation Rosebud Restaurants for an event to be held at Hangar 41, 1011 South Wolf Road on September 16th, 2017.
Questions from the board?
So moved. There are two conditions, if I may. If you make that motion, condition to two of the following, or both of the following: a submittal of a certificate of insurance that names the Village of Wheeling and Chicago Executive Airport as additional insured, and two, payment of all associated fees.
Second.
As amended, Mr. Lang?
Yes, I agree to that.
Thank you. Commissioner
Lang.
Vogel, seconded.
Second. Commissioner Papantos.
Yes.
Commissioner Vogel.
Yes.
Commissioner Brady.
Yes.
Commissioner Vito.
Yes.
Commissioner Lang.
Yes.
Commissioner Kruger.
Yes.
Chairperson Horker.
Yes. Item C, Clerk Simpson.
Consideration of a request for a Class A-V liquor license from Gin 28 the Third Incorporated DBA Golden Chef.
Mr. Spondilis.
Thank you. This is a request from an existing business, Golden Chef. They would like to add video gaming, a Class A-V license to their establishment. I believe we have a representative here this evening, and there are two conditions should the commission wish to grant this request. One, payment of all associated fees, and two, passage of an ordinance by the Board of Trustees authorizing the creation of a new Class A-V liquor license. Is the petitioner in attendance?
Any questions from the board? Would entertain a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I'll take the motion from Commissioner Lang, and I'll take the second from Commissioner Kruger. Clerk Simpson.
Commissioner Papantos.
Yes.
Commissioner Vogel.
Yes.
Commissioner Brady.
Yes.
Commissioner Vito.
Yes.
Commissioner Lang.
Yes.
Commissioner Kruger.
Yes.
Chairperson Horker.
Yes. Thank you all. I would be looking for a motion to adjourn from the Liquor Commission.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Kruger, second Commissioner Papantos. All in favor?
Aye.
Commissioner Papantos?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Brady?
Yes.
Commissioner Vito?
Yes.
Commissioner Lang?
Yes.
Commissioner Kruger?
Yes.
Chairperson Horker?
Yes, I would like to call to order the regular meeting for September 5th, 2017.
What time? 6:35.
All set?
Yes.
Take a roll call.
Trustee Papantos?
Present.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Here.
Trustee Vito?
Here.
Trustee Lang?
Here.
Trustee Kruger?
Present.
President Horker?
Here. Any changes to the agenda?
None this evening.
Proclamations. Clerk Simpson.
About minutes.
Minutes.
Oh, approval of minutes.
Proclamation Village of...
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, go ahead. Should I
Approval of the
stop?
minutes. No, I missed an item.
Approval of the, wait, can you, okay.
I'd be looking for a motion for the approval of the minutes for August 7th.
So moved.
Second.
Motion trustee Kruger, second trustee Brady. Roll call. I do that.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Spondelis. Now, proclamations.
Village of Wheeling Constitution Week, September 17th to the 23rd, 2017. The Constitution of the United States of America, the guardian of our liberties, embodies the principles of limited government in a republic dedicated to rule by law. September 17, 2017 marks the 230th anniversary of the framing of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention. It is fitting and proper to accord official recognition to this magnificent document in its memorial anniversary and to commemorate the occasion. Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America designating September 17th through the 23rd as Constitution Week. Patrick Horker, by virtue of the authority vested in him as village president, does hereby proclaim the week of September 17th through the 23rd as Constitution Week and ask our citizens to reflect on the privilege of being an American with all of their rights and responsibilities, which they have privileges and voices.
Thank you, Clerk Simpson.
You're welcome. Okay,
All set.
I'm good.
Citizens' concerns and comments. Clerk Simpson.
Okay, that's this. Members of the public may address the committee with comments regarding only those items that are relevant to village business. No citizen shall speak for more than 5 minutes without consent of the committee. Members of the general public who wish to address the board must sign the request to speak form prior to the commencement of the public meeting. Okay, Mr. Cook?
Good evening. My name is Jerry Cook. I am the principal of Wheeling High School. And I was recently hired on by 214. This is my second month of being in that position. I just want to take some time to introduce myself and let you know of what's happening at Wheeling High School and hopefully start to open the pathways for increased cooperation between Wheeling High School and the greater Wheeling community. Tell you a little bit about Wheeling High School if you've not that much familiar with it anymore. It's a continually changing organization. One of the things we pride ourselves on is preparation for our students for a variety of things after high school. So we believe at Wheeling High School that if a student is, upon graduation, is going into the military, entering a career, or going to a 2 or 4 year university, we've done our job and we've been successful. Roughly 90% of our students do go on to a 2 or 4 year university. The majority of our students go to Harper after high school. After Harper, our #1 school of attendance is University of Illinois, followed by UIC and then Illinois State University. Also, we have a career pathways. We have a sequencing of courses at Wheeling High School that enable our students to earn, in particular pathways, career pathways, earn certain certificates as well as internship opportunities. Meaning that after high school, our students are graduating with industry-recognized credentials and real-world job experience, making them very qualified individuals to enter the workforce in this area. So we're very proud of what we're doing, and as I stated earlier, I would like to hopefully get to know the village a little bit better and create more opportunities for Wheeling High School students to have some internship opportunities in the area. Give you an example, a little over 20% of our students earn certification in CNC milling. Over 40 of our students earned their CNA certification, and we have got about 15 or so students who have earned certifications around IT. So we're very proud of what's happening at Wheeling High School. I just wanted to introduce myself, say hello, and look forward to working with you in the future. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jerry, and Barry, if I might say, we are as proud of Wheeling High School as you are of the school. Believe me, the things that have been going on there these past years are phenomenal. It makes us look so good to have a high school and the caliber of the education that's coming out of there.
Absolutely.
And what you're doing with these kids is phenomenal. Thank you, and you've got a good job to keep up with. Keep it going, though.
I do. I have big shoes to fill, but we're doing great
I
things
know
there.
from me, and I'm sure from the rest of the board, thank you.
Thank you. And does anyone have any questions? All right. Thank you.
Mr. Mestasio?
Good evening, Village Board, people watching, people here. My name is Phil Mustachio, 3121 on Jackson Drive. I've got a couple of things to say, but the first thing I'd like to do is clarify some stuff that was said under citizens' concerns and comments at the last Village Board meeting. Citizens' concerns and comments is not a personal attack to anybody. If trustee Mr. Ray Lang has a consulting business out of his home, that's his problem. That is not anybody else's, and it doesn't need to be brought up here at this board meeting, and it should not be allowed. If you have a personal attack on our village clerk, who has done a wonderful job for so many years that nobody will even run against her, that's a personal attack, and it should not be allowed here at this board. And I will tell you on a personal level, and hear it loud and clear, I have been a friend and a neighbor to trustee Mary Kruger for almost 30 years. She does not now, or never has she run a home-based business out of her home on Jackson Drive. It's never happened. It's fake news, and I'm tired of this kind of listening to this kind of stuff going on here. I know for a fact now that we can't do anything about that because obviously the hands of the board are tied, and by common respect, the people that sit here in the uncomfortable seats really can't shout down somebody. But the bottom line is, when I was growing up, my mother taught me things. She taught me to look both ways before I crossed the street. She taught me to look at the date on the mayonnaise jar in the refrigerator. And she taught me to never back down to a bully. Bullies come in all shapes and sizes. And the only thing that they have in common is the only fight that they'll take is one where nobody can fight back. And I urge the village board, I urge the heads of all committees to utilize our time and show the positive things that happen in the village of Wheeling. I don't agree with everything that goes on here. You guys know that. And if I have something to say, I will come up and say it without a personal attack on any one individual and anybody else. But I have dealt with almost every department at the village of Wheeling, and I have found nothing but professionalism among everyone. The police and fire department are the people that you want to be there on your worst day. Those are the guys you want to show up. Okay, we've been on Jackson Drive, we've been underwater, and the public works under both Tony Stavros and under Mark Janik have been phenomenal in fixing our situations. Community development is good with us. We cannot use this 5 minutes to come up here and bad rap personally people on this board or people on that run these operations or work for this village. And I urge people to come up here and say the positive things about this village. I didn't move to Village of Wheeling. I didn't buy a house in the Village of Wheeling. The Village of Wheeling came to me and annexed me. And it was one of the darker times in my world. I didn't know how it was going to work. It's worked out okay. It's worked out okay, and I'm proud. And you can go to any of these village boards and ask them if they have a balanced budget and see what they've got to say and see if they have the positive things that are going on. And the place is the thing, and the Wheeling Helping Hands that works together with the fire department. But I'm just getting tired of this week-to-week personal bantering of people that are no longer even on the board. And that's all I got. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Cook? Oh, you already talked already? I'm sorry. Ms. Wilson?
Ms. Kruger, can I count on your support for the businesses on Jackson Drive to drop this legal action against them to force them to shut down their businesses?
Ms. Wilson, we recognize your concern.
I'm not talking to you. You are
Well,
not
you
my
are
elected
talking
official.
to
I'm
me.
talking to Ms. Kruger.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
the board is to be addressed as the board as a whole in matters of business in general for the village. The comments are to be addressed to the board as a whole.
Ms. Kruger, can I count on your support to drop these legal actions against the businesses on Schoenbeck and Jackson Drive?
Ms. Wilson, do you understand what I just asked?
Ms.
you to do?
Kruger, it is widely known that Ms. Kruger's brother runs a landscaping and snow plowing business out of her home.
Mr. President,
Ms.
It's widely known.
Mr.
It seems very
President.
unjust
Ms. Wilson.
and very
Ms.
prejudicial that she would be
Ms. Wilson, did you understand what I
advocating
asked you to
the
do?
putting out of businesses of her neighbors. Her neighbors have got a moral conundrum because they see
Ms. Wilson.
her brother plowing the driveways on
Ms.
either
Wilson.
side of them, and then they've got other neighbors that are being forced out of business.
If you can't control, if you can't get it to the topic at hand, the village business.
It is village business when
No,
my
ma'am.
tax dollars are being spent to put out businesses on Jackson Drive.
Ms. Wilson,
I would like to address the
Relative to
entire
village
board to please
business,
retract
relative-
their current path of putting out the honest working people on Jackson Drive in Schoenbeck. It's prejudicial, it's partiality. It seems that if you're on the board, you can run a business, it's the same zoning, it makes no sense. Mary Kruger and
Ms. Wilson.
Mr., what's his name, Lang,
Personal.
both are in the same zoning of
Ms.
residential.
Wilson, if
And
you
they
can't-
publicly
Mr.
recognize
President.
their own business,
Wilson, I'm
public
gonna ask
business,
you to-
and yet you,
Ms. Wilson,
yes.
we don't need personal attacks.
It's not, this is not a personal attack. This is a prejudicial application of the law. It's arbitrary, capricious application of the law, depending on whether or not you're connected to the board.
No, it's not. It's a
I
personal
think
attack
it is.
against
It's not a personal
trustees.
attack. I'm
And
holding them accountable. It seems
you're-
that if they're going to apply a law, I'm sorry, you advocated here in October for the very thing I'm speaking of now. And how is it that when you're on that side, you've suddenly switched sides? What happened to you, Pat Horker? What happened to you?
Understanding of the rules. I need you to stick to the rules or to sit down.
There's no rule that says I can't address the entire board to ask them to examine their hearts. Your
That is exactly what you
proclamation
can
today,
do.
you
That
put
is
on that you
exactly
think
what
you
you
want
can do.
all citizens in Wheeling to reflect on their constitution.
Yes.
I think a more appropriate wording would be for all village board members to reflect on that, because they seem to be applying it in a way that is very unequal, depending on their connection to the board. It just doesn't seem fair. It doesn't seem right. It seems cruel and really ruthless. I don't understand how you sleep at night. I think you're not going to get a dime bit more money. It's zoned residential over there. If you put them out of business, it's not like you're going to get more commercial tax. You can change the zoning to get a better tax break. It's just sad. It's just really sad. It's like, I don't understand that. It just seems capricious and unfair and like favoritism. And I don't understand how you flip sides. When you were on this side, you advocated for the very same thing I'm advocating for today. And I don't see you going to bat for those people. And it's sad and unfortunate. It's widely known. Lang readily admits in the newspaper that he's running a business, his home.
Ms. Wilson,
is R1.
relative
It's
to
R1.
village
It is
business.
relative to business. When you're using our tax dollars, that's a transaction. Legal fees is a transaction. Well, our tax dollars are making a transaction to Kleinthorpe Jenkins to put these people out of business. Whenever there's money exchange of tax dollars, that is village business.
Mr.
So it's
President,
perfectly
Mr. President,
relevant.
please,
Yes.
cut this off.
You're done, Ms. Wilson. Your time is up. Thank you.
That's very disappointing.
Yes.
Mary Papantos,
You are out of order. Your time is up, Ms. Wilson.
my time is not up. My 5 minutes bell has not rang. I'm talking on a different topic now.
Would you
I'd like to
Would you-
talk on a different topic now.
please sit down?
Mary Papantos, at the a couple of meetings ago, you said that
Ms.
Mr.
Wilson, if you
Malanaphy's
cannot
business
sit
was a
down,
family
you can
business.
be escorted
It was very
out.
It was very deceptive. His own website says that it's a
Officer,
two-staff,
would you please escort
a
Ms. Wilson
two-staff
out?
business with the Mr. Malanaphy and his father, who is deceased, so it's not a family business. You deceive the public. You deceive the public by saying that he had an association with a family business.
We all good? Any other comments?
No.
Thank you, Ms. Simpson.
Consent agenda?
Sorry?
Next is consent? Oh, no.
Staff
no.
reports.
Staff reports.
Mr. Janik, you have a staff report for us?
I do, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
As most of us saw today, or if you went through the intersection Dundee and McHenry Road, the contractor, Peter Baker, was grinding the intersection today. Just want to let you know, what happens next is the application of oil on the roadway and then binder, and then surface asphalt after that. So the general public, as well as anybody in the meeting here, if you can avoid that intersection the next few days, it would be best, because there are going to be some lines of traffic, not horrendous, but they're going to be doing a lot of work on that intersection this week.
Thank you, Mr. Janik.
President Horker? I'm sorry, can we have that posted on our Facebook page and website to, if possible, to avoid the intersection?
Sure, we can do that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Papantos. Clerk Simpson.
Consent agenda. All items listed on the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the village board and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a board member or citizen so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered after all other agenda items. 11A, resolution authorizing a public fireworks display by Wheeling High School on September 15, 2017, and waiving the required $5,000 security bond. Item 11B, ordinance declaring as surplus and authorizing the disposal, recycling, sale, or auction of municipal property owned by the Village of Wheeling. Item 11C, ordinance amending Chapter 4.32 of the Village of Wheeling's Municipal Code, alcoholic liquor dealers, specifically Section 4.32.085, to decrease the authorized number of Class A and increase the authorized number of Class AV liquor licenses. Item 11D, resolution authorizing the village manager to execute a settlement agreement and mutual release regarding settlement of litigation between Joshua Carranza and the Village of Wheeling.
Questions from the board?
So moved.
Second.
Trustee Brady? Thank you, Trustee Brady. Second from Trustee Papantos. Roll call.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Krueger?
Yes.
President Argyris?
Ouch.
Ouch, oh my God, I am so very sorry.
I'll probably.
Demerit.
I'm sure it's not the worst thing I'll be called tonight.
Cheating with the book.
I am so sorry.
New business.
You can tell I'm also, okay. 13A, ordinance granting an amendment to special use ordinance number 1997 to allow for building and site modifications at an existing drive-through restaurant at 425 West Dundee Road, docket number PC 17-14.
Mr. Jennings, please explain.
Thank you, President Horker. The petitioner, the Burger King located at 425 West Dundee Road, is requesting site plan modifications that would result in an update to the special use ordinance. They are updating the exterior of the facility as well as also working on interior modifications that aren't necessarily relevant to this particular ordinance. So there are some exterior modifications to the site itself, landscaping, lighting upgrades, as well as the facade of the building. The Plan Commission has reviewed and approved this. There is an additional condition of approval from this review that the Plan Commission is recommending be added into the existing special use ordinance for this location. And that, if you take a look at the ordinance, is listed in section C. It would add a fifth condition to the original approval that would state that the ceiling in the kitchen, warewashing, storage rooms, and bathrooms shall not be acoustical. They must be a vinyl-clad gypsum board for easy cleanability to correspond with current code requirements. And I believe there's a representative of the restaurant group here if there are any questions.
Questions from the board? Trustee Lang?
I have a
and then
question
Trustee Brady.
for Mr. Jennings. The land directly behind that goes up to the tracks, how much of that is Burger King and how much of that is no man's land, owned by the railroad?
Most of that actually is owned by the Village of Wheeling.
Okay.
The area directly west of the drive-through, if you can imagine the back of the curb on the drive-through, and if you open the site plan, I think you can see the property line on there. Behind that line, the Village of Wheeling owns a strip of land. It is where the West Shore Pipeline easement is located.
Okay. And is that, is there any landscape that will be extended back there at all? It's kind of, you know, there used to be a lot of trees back there. Now there's really nothing back there, and I was wondering what.
With the agreement to relocate the pipeline in that area, we have restrictions on the amount of landscaping that we can do. I can double check and see if there's anything we can do beyond what's already there, but I believe the plan is for it to remain turf.
Okay. It would be nice if we could do something, a little something back there to nicen it up.
I'll double check the agreement and see if we're allowed anything other than turf there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Trustee Lang. Trustee Brady. Trustee
Thank you.
Kapantos is next.
On that drive-through lane, after you place your order and make the U-turn to get to the window, it gets awful narrow along the spot that goes north and south, and usually you end up scraping your tires. And I'm wondering, as long as they're redoing some curb, can't they widen that a foot? Because I know when I go through my pickup truck, I have a little trouble, even sometimes with my car, my wife's car. You know, and it's just something that it might make it a little nicer to keep the curbs from turning black from tires. And I see they're replacing a section in that curb anyways, so they could just cut down the radius in that a little bit behind the trash corral. Is there anybody here from Burger King? You understand what I'm saying?
Why don't you come up to the podium, please, and introduce yourself? Yeah, it's fine.
My name is Aurelio Juarez. I'm with the office of Warren Johnson Architects. Our client is Tri-City Foods, which owns Burger King. But, I mean, I have the plans right here. I guess we can make it wider. I think I see what you're saying.
Because you're making it wider as you get to the drive-through window, but from the menu board to that spot that follows the property line there, it's just narrow enough to drive through, but when you're making a turn with a larger vehicle, one of your tires is going to hit the curb.
I guess I would have to speak to, I guess, my team. And
Your site guy.
My site guy, and then,
It looks like you're replacing the curb, you know, on that side where the light pole is. You know, you can just cut the radius down a little bit.
I mean, if I recall, it is 12 feet.
Pardon?
Pretty wide. It's 12 feet.
I don't know what it is now.
But like I said, I can get back and we could probably modify it.
Okay, well, if you take a look at that, please.
Sure.
Other than that, it's about time you guys.
Yeah.
You're getting ready for everything brand new over there, huh?
Yeah, I heard about that. Yes.
Good.
And the entrance got modified too. I see.
Yes. So if there's any other questions, make a motion to approve, but I see we have a question.
You seem concerned.
Nope, I'm just waiting.
Yes, trustee Papantos?
Thank you. First of all, please thank the owners for the update. Do you know what time frame we're talking about?
Usually we take about like 2 months, I would say, to complete the whole thing. But you mean the time frame when it'll be finished?
From when we're going to start this, because there's been times we've approved projects and they kind of half start or don't start at all.
No, I mean, we pretty much start right away. It usually takes like, not sure, I mean, we've done 26 of them so far, but I mean, it just depends like on how much remodeling needs to get done but usually it wouldn't take more than 2 months.
And will the site be closed during any of this?
Well, during the construction, yes, but for, I think it's a period of 2 days or 3 max, it'll all be closed. But during like actual construction, the drive-through would be open, if that's all right.
I mean, I just want people to know that while they may not be able to enter the restaurant, they'd be able to go through the
Yeah, the drive-through
drive-through.
would be open, yeah.
And you'll post signs on that?
I believe they do. I believe so. I'm fairly new with the company, sorry. But yeah, they actually do put some signs outside by the gates where they enclose it.
And so then you said, I believe you just said that it would be about a 4-month project?
Yeah, well, no, I said no more than like 2.
No more than 2?
No more than 2.
So by the end of the year easily?
Yeah, I would say so.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Trustee Brady, were you,
Yes, he did it first.
sorry?
Yeah, he said he would.
No, I was just curious, you were not interested in making this a condition of the,
If the board agrees with it, I think it's a good condition. It's not really costing him anything, just a little minor change in the curb layout.
yes, but we would not be able to give him a radius or an actual measurement.
That's all right. I think he
We could ask him to
understands.
try.
I think he understands.
That would be
Yeah,
sufficient.
I'd like to make that a motion, a condition, part of the motion.
Do I have, trustee Kruger, should that be
Is that going to require removing new landscaping that you had planned on putting in?
No.
No?
It might require moving about 20, 30 feet of curb and putting it new.
It might require moving that pole.
and it might require losing a parking space.
Yeah,
There's no parking over there.
but if you see like, if it's gonna all get wide, you'd probably lose that, I don't know, I mean, I don't know if you have it in
You got a
front.
minute? Come here.
Yeah?
I don't-
You want-
So just so we're on the same page. I've only built restaurants for 30 years, especially fast food ones, so.
For to Ken's
Right here.
expertise.
You can cut it here.
It
and
is
cut
his
this
field.
down a little bit, just so that this is a little bit wider in here. What happens is the cars come out of here and are bouncing off the curbs, trying to get lined up. It's very narrow. That's all it would take.
So would you be able to just give me like a certain width that you would like? That way I could,
I don't know what it is now.
I would,
2 feet wider would be more
we
than enough in
can't,
that area.
I would entertain a motion from the board to approve it as designed with the possibility that you
we could change it.
improve the radius for turning of full-size
I'll make
vehicles.
my motion that way then,
Okay,
counting on them to use Burger King's better judgment on making it a better project
thank you,
for
trustee
their
Brady.
customers.
Looking for a second.
Second.
Second, trustee Lang. Roll call.
Trustee Papantos,
Yes.
trustee Vogel,
Yes.
trustee Brady.
Yes.
Trustee Vito.
Yes.
Trustee Lang.
Yes.
Trustee Kruger.
Yes.
President Horker.
Yes. Item B.
Item B, ordinance amending Title IV taxes, business regulation, and licenses of the Wheeling Municipal Code, Chapter 4.08, licenses and permits relating to business licensing requirements.
Mr. Jennings.
Thank you, President Horker. The board recently had a discussion on one element of this. Just by way of background, the Community Development Department has been looking at most of these amendments in some form or another for the better part of a year or two, including the modifications that were recently discussed regarding background checks. So this particular direction that was given by the board a few weeks ago has now been incorporated into some draft amendments that the staff had been reviewing, and that's what I'm going to be discussing tonight. Of course, including the fingerprint modifications that have been just discussed recently at the last meeting. The memo that you have in front of you that explains the draft ordinance is broken into a few sections by topic, and if I could, I'll just go through them briefly. The first item on the memo is replacing exempt business list with the zoning and occupancy certificate required list. In practice, the village staff has for years reviewed businesses that are considered to be exempt from licensing. They are checked for compliance with the zoning, and they're checked for the occupancy of the space that they're proposing to operate in. We complete that review, and there's no real certificate to conclude the review. We approve them, they move on, and they, if needed, they'll go through a building permit process if there's some modifications that are necessary. The proposal is to have that particular process culminate in a certificate. They'll have some formal approval at the end that would allow them to be assured that they're operating. Currently, we sort of view it as a registration. This would give them a more formal documentation at the end of the process. There's a note in this section that would reference a fee. I just want to be clear that we're not proposing that fee at this time. We review, as a village staff, the fees annually. Unless there's an urgent need to modify a fee, we would incorporate any fee change with the annual review. And that's our intention in this case, is to establish a nominal fee for this zoning certificate once the other changes to the village-wide fee schedule are considered. The other changes to the fee schedule that aren't noted here that we're considering, which again are not part of what you're reviewing, are a square footage-based fee. We've done surveys of other municipalities and found that there are square footage-based fees that differentiate between the amount of review for a small space versus a large space. Again, not on for tonight, but just to let you know as a preview of what's coming. I did receive a question regarding the home-based business. The proposed fee for that would likely be $0. We would propose a nominal fee for businesses that are located in commercial space due to the extent of the inspections that are involved in certifying those locations. However, a home-based business may not have the same level of inspection, and we'd of course want to encourage people to go through the review process. That is the first section. So under number 2, permitted home occupations. This would be in addition to the list of the businesses that would go through the zoning and occupancy certification requirement. Home-based businesses currently have no particular formal validation that they are in fact complying with the code. And we've received requests over the years from several home-based businesses to have some sort of certificate either for tax purposes or for confirmation, perhaps with neighbors, et cetera, that they've been reviewed and that they are operating in compliance with the code. As it is right now, there's a list of items that are required for compliance with the code. There is no positive validation to that, and at the request of businesses who are operating in residential locations, we thought it was an appropriate time to offer a certification that would validate them. That is number 2. Number 3, clarification of inspection procedures. The current inspection procedures aren't necessarily reflected in the code. The code right now is phrased in a way that doesn't give any discretion as to what types of inspections are done. In reality, we do send the inspectors out, and we would have at this should this be approved, we would have some discretion to waive certain types of inspections that are not relevant to that type of business and just streamline the process for the businesses. Number 4 is the modification of the background check requirement. This is the one that we discussed at the last meeting. As is proposed, the staff is proposing a list of specific business types that require additional licensing external to the village as the base for the list of licenses in our code where a background check would still be required. That would include items such as liquor sales, massage therapy, and businesses that deal in the care of children. We also have a 4th category, which is, for lack of a better term, resale-based business. So salvage operations where you might purchase and dispose of personal property for cash for gold, for example. There are a few types of businesses that purchase and dispose of property where it may be important to have some oversight. The last piece on that I would want to note is that we do have a suggested delay in the effective date to allow this limbo period. Should this be approved, we want to make sure that we are processing consistently so that as of a certain date, any application that's received would be under the new rules. And we want to make sure that we clearly define when that date would be. And that's suggested in this ordinance as well. The 5th item here is a clarification of the process for denial of a license. Again, this is similar to the item 3, clarification of the inspection procedures. In practice, the village rarely denies a business license for a minor code violation. And this would allow us to operate more clearly and consistently with the code, where we would refer for example, a minor property maintenance violation to a property maintenance inspector to follow through with an enforcement action, and the license itself is separated from that and goes on and the business gets approved for their business license. We do withhold business licenses if there are major violations. That would continue to be the case. That would be your major life safety violations, major work done without a permit, et cetera. We would still continue to do that. This would just allow us to clearly issue a license and have minor violations pursued through normal code enforcement. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Trustee Lang, Trustee Vito is next.
Thank you. Mr. Jennings, there's many people who have worked for another company and do work out of their house, work at home, so on. How does this affect any of those folks?
Well, the way that this is phrased right now does refer back to the existing regulations of Title 19. So the existing definition of a home occupation and the existing list of what's considered to be compliant versus not compliant. This would treat them essentially the same as they are right now. We would find any business, I would almost view this as a courtesy. If a business does hear about this through, should this be approved, we would send out notice through the newsletter letting people know that this certification exists, that you can seek it out. However, as with many items, I would expect that this would be handled on a complaint basis. So if somebody had complained that there was a business operating, we would go just as we do now. We would investigate and see if the business that has been complained about is operating in compliance with the code. The difference with this would be at the end of that investigation, we would be able to validate the business and say, yes, you are in fact in compliance. You would have a certificate at the end of it.
Got it. Well, I mean, you're going to see a cell phone and a computer in someone's kitchen table. I mean, how would you know that they're conducting business that way?
Sure. So the list, the zoning code does currently have a list of criteria where we would make an assumption based on observation. Commercial vehicles, for example, you may see visitors to a property that might not be consistent with the character of a residential area. So yes, if your business operates just basically at a cell phone at the kitchen table, it may not even necessarily be a home occupation, and it still would likely be found to be compliant, even if it is a home occupation. It'd be likely compliant with the code.
And you would just want those folks to register?
Exactly. Exactly.
And make life easier. So if there's a complaint, you say, I got the paperwork here, they're all good to go.
Yes, so courtesy of the business. In the past, we haven't had that available, both as a courtesy to the business, and I think there's also, for our purposes, it's, I think, good to know for emergency response, for example, that you might have a business operating out of a home.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Lang. Trustee Vito?
So are you saying now moonlighters have to register?
No, Moonlighter, so not to get too far into Title 19, but if you look through Title 19, it's entirely possible to operate a business that is compliant with the code as it is right now, and that wouldn't change. The criteria for compliance would not change. There are many businesses that don't cross that threshold into being a home occupation. They do, somebody brings their work home with them, does not make it a home occupation. If you have a job in the evening that requires you to make a few phone calls, might not even be a home occupation. What we're looking for, though, I think, is to allow businesses that do operate out of a home an opportunity to go through a review process if, in fact, there is a complaint made about them. And of course, they could voluntarily apply for it as well.
Yeah, I don't mean like someone who takes work home. I mean someone who's working, I guess, their own side jobs.
Sure.
Let's get a concrete example. When I worked for American Family Insurance, I did a lot of legal work on my own out of my house. Would I now have to register? I called myself the law office of Joe Vito. Would I now have to register my business?
No, I don't think that would be the case.
Okay. And then in part one, the exempt businesses, so if I had a law office in a strip mall, I would need to get the zoning and occupancy certificate.
That's correct.
All right.
All set?
Yeah.
Trustee Papantos?
Thank you. You mentioned a delay. Will the delay affect the elimination of the background checks?
So the elimination of the background checks, basically, we have a delay. I'm looking for the date, if anybody has it in front of them, please. Just give me 1 second. September 11th. So it's a short delay. It's basically to allow us to process the ones that are in process. New applicants that come in between now and then, if this were to be approved, we would advise them of this requirement, and we wouldn't process their applications. We wouldn't put them through from this point on. Say, for example, if this were in effect, we wouldn't process them because processing them would take longer than if they were to wait. So we're just looking for some sort of clear cutoff date so that we can distinguish between ones that are in process and those that aren't.
In addition to that, any code changes take 10 days to go into effect from when they're published. So I think that date also needs to reflect that this doesn't go into effect. Code language doesn't change for 10 days.
I guess worst case scenario, if somebody came in 2 days from now and said, I want to open a business, we would not require them to have the fingerprint check and just say that's pending?
On a daily basis, we don't receive that many new business license applications, so we can provide a personal consultation basically with them and let them know this is going to be in effect within a matter of days, and we would basically have them apply after the date.
Okay, thank you. There's a distinction between exempt businesses and home-based businesses, and a home-based business is listed out, or a variety, and we can go to similar businesses in 1910. 408 is the exempt businesses, the law offices of Joe Vito or an optometrist, something like that, correct?
As it's currently written, the proposal that we're talking about relates to a list that's currently called exempt. The label of exempt doesn't really reflect that they do go through an application process. It makes it sound as though they're completely exempt from any review. There is a review. We do not issue a license for them. So to avoid the confusion, we want to make sure that the application requirement is clear. It's not a business license, and we're talking, by and large, these are going to be in commercial spaces. They're going to be in offices, they're going to be in shopping centers, they're going to be in industrial areas. We just don't issue them a business license after we review their zoning. And this just clearly distinguishes between those that get a license and those that get a zoning review, only a zoning review.
Thank you.
Questions or comments? Any?
Yeah.
Trustee Vito?
If there's no review process now, what's the legislative authority to do it now?
The review process now is under the authority of the building code and the zoning code. So we essentially register them yes, you're allowed to operate that type of business in that zoning district. So that the authority comes from Title 19 and Title 15 currently.
Okay, so there's no new review that's going to happen. So when I read this initially, I'm like, well, I thought we were getting regular fingerprints, and now we're getting new ordinances, and I was kind of mad.
No, this
but if it's just kind of business as usual, that.
It's business as usual. This just gives something to show for it at the end.
All right, okay, thank you.
Mr. Sonny.
That is an excellent point, and I think what everybody needs to know, public and the board, is that this is meant to be proactive and pro-business. This is a practice, as Director Jennings said, that had been part of our routine, but nothing formalized that resulted in a piece of paper that said this happened, and now I have this certificate to show that I've been reviewed by the village, and although a license isn't required, look, I'm legitimate. This is meant to be pro-business and give them the opportunity to highlight the fact that they are working within the code and are running an appropriate business. That is the purpose of all this. I just, as an overview, I wanted to make sure that that was clear.
Thank you. Trustee Lang.
But as a clarification then, when Trustee Vito asked if something that he wanted to do, attorney work in the evening, that he didn't need to register any of that, but that would be for something separate, above and beyond. So is it, I'm confused, which way should he register or should he not?
If he's doing the occasional work at home, I don't think that's going to cross the threshold of what's intended for the home occupations of the section of Title 19, the zoning code. So in the home occupation section of the zoning code, there's an entire criteria of what is considered to be a home occupation.
Right.
Now, occasionally bringing work home or making some phone calls is not going to cross the threshold of being a home occupation per the zoning code.
But I guess you had a lot of people who work from home who are probably saying what grounds? I mean, what's a lot and what's a little? And where do I fall in?
It's a fair question. I think the threshold is going to be, there's some art to this as well. I think the threshold is going to be if it is a significant amount of time. If your primary occupation is conducted in your home, then I think you're more clearly going to need to review the home occupation standards of the code.
That totally makes sense. Okay.
Any other questions? Look for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Trustee Kruger, second.
Second.
Trustee Papantos. Roll call, Clerk Simpson.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes. Clerk Simpson, item C.
Item C, ordinance amending the Village of Wheeling Municipal Code Title 14 Fire, adding Chapter 14.07 Special Service Fees.
Chief McIsaac.
Thank you very much, President Horker. If you'll allow me to deviate for one brief moment. Standing next to me, it's my pleasure. I know some of you have already met him, some of you have not. I'm pleased to introduce our new Deputy Chief, Mike McGreal, who is joining us. The department from prior to this will met. I've known Mike for a number of years. He's also worked with Trustee Kruger through the years through committees at Red Center and her role as a liaison. And I'm really pleased to see Mike here. I think he brings a lot to the organization and will help take us even further. So, Mike, welcome aboard.
Thank you. I'd like to thank the board and village manager and Chief McIsaac for this opportunity.
Tonight before you, we have a proposed ordinance. This has actually been approximately 18 months in the works. About 18 months ago, the board and the village manager challenged us to take a look at the fire department operations in light of continued growth and the services we provide in the community to meet those challenges. And that led to looking at the types of calls that we were going on. And one of them that stands out very much is what we refer to as invalid assists. This has been a progressively growing issue, almost pushing the realm of between 175 and 180 calls a year. What is an invalid assist? It's basically, these are calls for 911 services where people want help getting off the floor, getting out of their bathtubs, getting on and off their toilets, moving from their automobile to their homes, moving back and forth. And most times these are related to individuals who have various in-home health care issues and have to date not necessarily addressed them. We've had a very active program over the last few years with Human Services. Ms. Weezar and her social workers have been very helpful in this process, and we have been following up with these situations. And most people we have been able to help guide in one capacity or another, simply by advising them to install things like grab rails in showers and bathrooms, to sometimes lining them up with various agencies who can help them with their various needs. Unfortunately, there are some residents, and it's a very, 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 very small group of residents, who feel that this is something that the village should continue to provide them, and they generate many, many, many of these calls of the number I gave you. And despite attempts by Human Services and the fire department and follow-up, refuse to take steps to address their own home health care needs. What we are proposing tonight is to implement a fee service for just those specific individuals as a means of enticing them to take the advice and the guidance that is provided them to help their lives become better. It is not meant to be a revenue generator in any way, shape, or form, and in fact, if this program is successful, the goal ultimately, in a very utopic situation, would be that someday we would have an ordinance on the books that the board would say, why do we still have it? Let's get rid of it, because there is no need for it. But unfortunately, we have some individuals who are repeat individuals, customers of the service, that refuse to take the advice of the village staff to help them. The amount that's in the fee that we've asked for has no rhyme or reason necessarily. It was viewed as just through discussion, a fair sliding fee to encourage them. They would get 3 free invalid assists in a 12-month period. They would not be billed until they got the 4th one. And when you look at the number of calls we have, so far this year, this fee would have been implemented 4 times. To residents who already have exceeded their 3 free ones. In years past, it's been as high as 13 individuals. So with that, I'm here to entertain any questions you might have as to why this is before you.
Trustee Papantos?
Hi. Thank you, Chief, and welcome, Deputy Chief. Thank you very much. When is the start date for the 12 months going to go into effect? In other words, you've said you have people who would be over if they call again.
It would start with a clean slate, starting on a 12-month sliding scale upon adoption of this ordinance. And as pointed out earlier by the manager, there's a 10-day lead cycle before it could go in effect. But we would work on a 12-month sliding scale, which is capable of us, so that we don't end up with a scenario of, I gotcha, the clock restarted just because it's January 1st, but it would be a 12-month sliding scale, and we would start with a clean slate.
So everybody's starting with a clean slate. Are you going to notify the repeat offenders? I'm assuming you know who they are, that
We
this
know
will
who
be
they are,
occurring?
and actually one of the aspects that's been looked at is handing out a postcard that explains all this on every invalid assist. Right now, there's a social service request that's done on every request, and there's a follow-up already on every invalid assist by the Human Services Department.
When we talked earlier, Chief, you mentioned that we're actually getting invalid assists from out of Dolorado Villa. Are we going to do something special for that? I mean, people are paying to live there. It seems kind of strange that their residents are then calling
Well, the
our
point you're
staff.
mentioning is, yes, we've had some situations where the Dolorado Villa has actually called us, and I have already had conversations with the executive director there to address that. Part of their issue at the Villa has been evening staffing, and some of their staff not wanting to necessarily deal with individuals who are on the floor. That has since been addressed, but will be something that will have to be monitored.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
So moved.
Trustee Vito.
Yeah, Chief, do you know, is this going to be something that people can put through Medicare or Medicaid? Because I just think it would completely disincentivize it would completely destroy the deterrent effect of it if they could just submit it.
No, they cannot. Medicare, Medicaid will only pay if they're transported to the hospital, which is kind of the catch-22 that we're in right now under our current fee structure. We have no mechanism to charge them without this ordinance being implemented because they're denying requests to go to the hospital.
And have you given any thought to how far we want to go in collection activity of it? I mean, if someone just lets it delinquent, I mean, are we going to bring the hammer down?
I think that's a decision that ultimately have to come before the board at some point, but at this point, I believe honestly that if people get a invoice from the Village of Wheeling, an official one from Mr. Mondashane, I think they're going to take it very seriously.
Mike is very intimidating.
He is, he is.
All right.
There's a reason we call him Dr. No.
That's right. Thanks, Chief.
Thank you. Any other questions from the board? There was a, Trustee Brady has made a motion. I'm looking for a second.
Second.
Second, Trustee Kruger. Roll call, Clerk Simpson.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes, thank you.
If I may.
Chief, this is the first of two changes that you'll be
Well,
bringing.
actually, first of three changes that
First
we're
of
going to be
three.
implementing.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Managers Fundilas. This is the first one. The second one we're looking at is how we're handling elevator alarms. Right now, we respond to over 200 elevator alarms a year that are false alarms. It has to do with where the emergency buttons on the elevators now are. We have a particular problem with them in that the buttons that are mandated by the state for emergency calling, in most cases, are directly below the first floor button. So when people get in the elevator, they naturally assume the lowest button is a 1, and in not, it's an emergency. Then when dispatch activates the speaker system, people become shocked and don't say anything, or they are getting off at floor number 1 right away. And we respond, check it out, and over 200 times a year, we find an empty elevator that's working just fine. So we are implementing some operational changes coming forward where we will be transitioning to a no voice, no noise response program. The other thing that we are currently in the process of doing is handling what are called trouble alarms. We're looking at that whole method of operations and have recently added additional business telephone numbers that can be called by dispatch to verify that there is not a problem at the business. A trouble alarm typically is tied to either the phone lines or electric service to a building. And instead of sending a fire truck right away, we're looking to have dispatch contact the business and the people on that list first before sending a piece of equipment. That too will reduce some call responses and freeing up resources for real emergencies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Yeah, we did that. Yeah, we're done with that one.
Okay. Item D.
Resolution approving the issuance of a tag day permit to Knights of Columbus, Regina 4837.
Manager Spondilis.
Thank you. This is a simple tag day permit for an event covering dates of September 15th through the 16th at the intersections of Milwaukee and Dundee, as well as Lexington Drive and Lake Cook Road. Typically, this would have been on consent, but we have a couple of members of the Knights of Columbus on the board who would need to recuse themselves from the vote.
Does anybody want to come forward and recuse yourself from the vote? Any motion to approve?
So moved.
Trustee Lang, second.
Second.
Trustee Kruger. Roll call.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Abstain.
Trustee Brady?
Abstain?
Abstain. Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes.
Stop by and get your Tootsie Rolls, folks.
Joe Vito is a yes, Dave Vogel is a no. Ken Brady is a no.
All set.
Sure. Okay.
Resolution E. Item E.
Item E, resolution approving an agreement for professional auditing services with Skilch LLP for the 5 years beginning with the fiscal year 2017 audit and ending with the fiscal year 2021 audit. Let me see, D.
Mr. Monshane.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll try to make this not intimidating for the board. Tonight, as you know, there's an agreement or a proposed agreement on the agenda to renew our auditing services contract with Sikich LLP. We have worked with Sikich for many years now. Their current contract expired with the conclusion of the fiscal year 2016 audit. And because of the professional and productive relationship that we've had with them, and because they are leaders in the government accounting field and well respected not only by finance people in communities all over the Chicago area, but also by other accounting firms, I asked them to provide us with a competitive proposal for another 5-year period, and they responded to that by submitting a proposal that reflects no increase in their fees for the first year and a 1.5% increase in year 2, followed by 2% increases in years 3 through 5. I then compared their proposal to the fees charged by other accounting firms and the fees paid by similar-sized municipalities and found it to be reasonable. And for that reason, I am recommending to the board that we renew our agreement with Sikich through the 2021 audit. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Trustee Brady, you have a question?
Just one. This $231,000 is just 1 year, or is that the whole 5?
That's 5 years, so it works out to about $46,000 a year.
Along the way, are there any other additional costs charged to us against this audit?
That's all in, and that includes the cost of a single audit if we need to have a single audit in any given year because of grant funds. It actually could be less if they spend fewer hours on the audit than they anticipate, then the fees would be lower than that amount.
Good job, Michael.
Any other questions from the board? Otherwise, I would entertain a motion. Motion, Trustee Brady.
Second.
Second, Trustee Vogel. Roll call, Clerk Simpson.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Krueger?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes. Item F.
Resolution authorizing change order number 1 to the contract with Trine Construction Corporation for the 2017 water main replacement and roadway improvement program in the amount of $50,000.
Mark Janik.
Thank you. Public Works is requesting consideration by the board of a change order for the water main project that's been taking place for approximately the last 3 months, 4 months down in the industrial area of Wheeling. The project is a very complicated project. It's approximately a mile of water main in a very busy industrial area. The industrial residents there have been working very well with us with detours, road closures, driveways being closed. We're putting in new sidewalk, and this project also includes a fiber optic connection from Village Hall to Public Works. This change order is not a change order that's being requested by the contractor. It's being requested by Public Works staff. As you've seen the memo, this project came in about $500,000 less than we thought it was going to. We waited until the project was mostly done, and then we decided to do this change order, make some savings through the contract on the way to this change order, but request this change order in order to do additional curb work that was needed as part of the project. So it's a $50,000 change order. This is about 2.4% of the total project cost of $2 million and change, and it's here for your consideration.
Questions from the board? Looking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Pick them.
Take Trustee Krueger for a motion and Trustee Vito for a second.
I didn't say anything, but sure.
You win. You sound like a girl, Joe.
It was my voice.
I'm sticking with my choice.
Okay.
It's fine. Second.
Okay, good. Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Krueger?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes. Thank you guys for being good sports. Item G.
Resolution waiving competitive bidding and authorizing acceptance of a National Joint Powers Alliance contract for the purchase of one Schwartz Tornado A7 truck mounted regenerative air sweeper through RNOW Incorporated in the amount of $226,510.
Mr. Janik,
Thank
what
you.
is a regenerative air sweeper?
Yes, it's a very complicated piece of machinery that is necessary for Public Works to keep the streets clean. For over 20 years, Public Works has used two street sweepers in order to clean the public streets. These street sweepers, currently what we have is what's called a mechanical street sweeper and one that's regenerative. The regenerative street sweeper actually has a vacuum as an engine on the truck, and it actually vacuums up the debris that's loosened up by brushes in the front of the machine. The mechanical sweeper does not have a vacuum and uses a conveyor belt to transport the debris from the street, from the sweeping of the brushes up into the hopper. The mechanical sweeper, which is called the Elgin Eagle, is up this year for replacement through the SURF program. So what the regenerative sweeper does is that it reduces, not only does it do a better job in transporting debris from the street into the machine, which makes the job easier and a much better job with leaves and dirt and that sort of thing. But the regenerative also reduces dust in the air. The mechanical sweeper produces, I'm not going to say clouds of dust, but the regenerative actually takes that particulate matter and absorbs it into the machine itself. It's much better for air quality and does much better job taking the debris from the street. Choosing this machine that's before you has taken about 6 months. Public Works realized it was a very expensive piece of machinery, and we wanted to go through the whole array of different mechanical and regenerative sweepers before we made our decision. This is a request for a waiver of competitive bid. It's a little bit strange because the village uses, or Public Works uses, as well as the village, different agencies to publicly bid vehicles in particular, because we can't go out for bid individually on every vehicle that we do. We could, but we use agencies such as the NJPA to bid out vehicles like this, and they'll bid out a whole array of vehicles, and then we'll choose which one we would like to have. This particular vehicle, we're abiding by the NJPA publicly bid numbers, but the number is further reduced through other negotiation that Public Works did. So we're waiving competitive bid because the number is less than the actual publicly bid number.
Questions from the board? Trustee Papantos.
Thank you. Director Janik, first of all, thank you, Superintendent Spratt, for keeping the Elgin Eagle alive more than its expected 10 years. Am I correct?
Yes.
Life. What data do we have on the Schwartz? Because I've never seen those around. When I walk, I see Elgin's street cleaners all over. Do we think that this will last as long and be something that we can work on and keep going?
Yes, absolutely. Superintendent Spratt did an exhaustive research relative to these machines. This particular machine is very similar to the Elgin machine that we currently have. We have a regenerative that we're going to be keeping that's actually up for replacement in a couple years, but it's very similar to that machine, just a lot less money. The part of this deal that we have will train our mechanics on fixing this machine, but we also know other municipalities and have talked to other municipalities who have this very machine, and it's been a good purchase for them.
And does the regenerative machine do a better job of getting fine particulate up off the street?
Yes, that's why we're very interested in getting the regenerative. Not only does it get larger debris up, but it picks up the smaller debris, which helps with, well, it's better for air quality for the residents.
And do we know of any municipality that has had this particular brand for, I mean, a long time, where the life cycle?
I think the longest, the municipalities that we, that Superintendent Spratt contact, I think it's been 4 years, maybe 5 years is the longest period of time that we, that they've had the machine.
Thank you.
Trustee Kruger?
Thank you. Trustee Papantos already asked my question about lifespan, so I'm reduced to the curiosity question. Where does the debris go?
The debris goes into we call it a hopper. It's a
No, after out of the hopper. What happens to it afterwards? You take it to a site, a waste management? What happens to the?
We take it to a dump site.
Okay.
Trustee Brady? Oh, I'm sorry.
Just a quick question. You said there's brushes in the front that'll loosen up all the dirt and stuff that's stuck to the street.
That's correct.
How big a piece of debris will this pick up? Car parts, mud flaps, stuff like that?
No, it won't pick up, let's say, a mud flap. The opening of the vacuum itself is about 14 inches in diameter. So you can imagine it won't pick up, like a large limb, for instance, but it will pick up sticks. But if there's larger debris in the way of the sweeper, we'll go ahead of it and get that larger debris.
You're going to have to have police in front of it so it don't jam up the machine.
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you. That's it.
Any other comments? If not, we'd be looking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion, Trustee Papantos, second.
Second.
Trustee Kruger? Just turn my head and you'll do it. Roll call, please.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes. Item H. There's no item H. Good heavens. Official communications. Start with you.
Okay.
Clerk Simpson, please.
Okay, tomorrow night will be the monthly beat meeting at the police station. It will start at 7 o'clock and last until 8 o'clock. The noise committee for the airport will meet tomorrow at 6 p.m. at 1020 Plant Road. And the Wheeling Historical Society will be having ghost stories with the library, at 355 Schoenbeck Road on September 27th, which is a Wednesday, at 6:30 p.m. That's all I have.
Thank you. Anyone else? Trustee Vogel?
Yes, it's been mentioned a couple of times tonight, but this weekend is called the Wheeling Week of Caring. It starts off Thursday with a golf outing. Unfortunately, we had to cancel the golf outing at Chevy Chase Country Club because of the flooding, but Deerfield accepted our group and we'll be playing up there. That's followed by a dinner at Market Square Restaurant that evening. There's raffles and various other fundraising activities taking place that evening. On Friday, there's a buffet entertainment night in the tent outside in the parking lot. And again, there'll be fundraising activities then. And then Saturday it ends with the pig roast. There's things there for all ages. The train, the famous Wheeling train, will be operational. There'll be free ice cream, free popcorn. Kids under 10 eat free. It's a $10 admission price for the pig roast and all kinds of other food if you don't like the roasted idea. There's hamburgers and hot dogs, pasta, salads, etc. So we hope you all can come out. We are at the Wheeling Helping Hands is a 501c3 tax-exempt organization that was established to help the underprivileged in the village of Wheeling through the Federation of Police, or the Wheeling Association of Police, I believe it's called, and the Wheeling Firefighters Association. So we hope you all join us. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Vogel. Trustee Lang?
Thank you. I was going to mention the airport noise meeting as well, but thank you, Clerk Simpson, for doing that. It might have been mentioned 2 weeks ago at a meeting I was not at, but there was an article and an editorial in the Tribune on the Wheeling Town Center. Did that come up?
It did not publicly, no.
All right, I'm going to bring it up. That article made me very proud of this town and what we've accomplished in this room and all the people in this room. And that includes everybody. And reading that really was a feel-good article. It was basically directing other villages to look at Wheeling and look at what Wheeling is doing. And that's just amazing. We're doing a lot of great things here and something that we all should be proud of. And it was great to read, but congratulations to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Lang. Trustee Kruger?
Thank you, President Horker. First of all, I'm looking very forward to the Weekend of Caring. I think we need a lot of that in this community right now. Second, perhaps to help out, have an assist for Jerry Cook, the new principal of Wheeling High School. You may remember that a meeting earlier towards the end of the school year, we all met the new band director in lieu of Brian Logan having left, and he was promoting Saturday, September 23rd for the 50th annual Chicagoland Marching Bands Festival. It's one of my favorite events at Wheeling High School, and again, it is Saturday, September 23rd. General admission prices are $12 for adults, $8 for students and senior citizens. They have a family plan this year, 2 adults and 4 children for $30. I believe it begins, where's the time on this thing?
I forgot my phone.
Not good. No time on the ad. It's Saturday, September 23rd. Follow the music. You'll hear it from wherever. There's usually about 25 bands from all over the Chicagoland area, and I can hear them in my backyard. But even in spite of that, I still go to the event because it is an outstanding music event and showcasing certainly our kids. I believe that is all I have today. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Kruger. And with regard to Trustee Lang's comment, the Tinley Park has already called, asking to get in touch with us, and I sent him over to talk to Mr. Malenefy.
Thank you, President Horker. I spoke to the mayor of Tinley Park today, the Economic Development Director, and they wanted to learn as much as they could about the Wheeling Town Center and how we got that accomplished. And we're also going to be meeting with the Mayor of Niles and their Economic Development Director as well. So that article certainly got us a lot of press on our success story.
Very good. Excellent. Manager Spondulis.
Thank you. Just one item. It was brought to my attention that some residents may have been visited by electric companies trying to say that they are part of Wheeling's electric aggregation program. Just a reminder to the public that Wheeling is not currently involved in an electric aggregation program. So if there is someone knocking on your door trying to say that they are part of anything related to the Village of Wheeling, that is not a true statement. I'm sure the public remembers the whole history on the village's participation as part of a larger group who did aggregate the purchase of electricity for a number of years when we were able to recognize a significant savings. However, the commodity cost came up or the commodity cost actually came down to the point where the contracted price we were getting was above what you could get if you were going directly to ComEd. So just a reminder that certainly any resident is able to sign up for a program should they choose to do so individually, but none of those companies represent a larger group through the Village of Wheeling.
Manager Spondalis, if a person has a no soliciting sign on their door, are these people allowed to, or should they knock on our doors?
They should not knock on your door.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Then I would be looking for a motion to approve the bills of August 17th through the 30th.
So moved.
Motion, Trustee Vogel.
Second.
Second, trustee Lang. Roll call.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Krueger?
Yes.
President Horger?
Yes, thank you everyone for your participation. That concludes our meeting for the evening. We just need one motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion trustee Krueger, second
Second.
trustee Vito. All in favor?
Okay.
Ayes. Thank you. Thank you everyone for coming. Good night.